Good morning, my name is Joseph Butcher, and today I will be talking to you about the company Dior in terms of their sustainability in the fashion and cosmetics industry, and ultimately I will be benchmarking them against the company Patagonia. Firstly, I will be speaking about Dior's company mission. Their mission is to only leave beauty as a legacy. This means being fully committed to reducing their carbon emissions by 46%, full scope by 2030, and aligning the business with the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway. Ultimately, this also means to gather their efforts in favour of biodiversity, with flower farming as a driver of regeneration. Now, moving on with the company's organisational overview, we are going to talk about their vision and their values. Dior's vision is to become the world's most popular brand in all products that enhance their lifestyle. And their values, which are prioritised within their company, include diversity, inclusion, sustainability, innovation, employee and customer satisfaction, along with giving back to the community. Moving on, now I will be speaking about Dior's current strategies, issues, policies and practices relating to governance, workers, communities and the environment. Dior has the RJC Ethics Charter policy in place. This relates to all sections mentioned above. It demonstrates commitment to the respect of human rights among their workers. It also illustrates that they're against any form of funding, financial aid, any form of financing of any conflicts. And lastly, it also affirms the brand's commitment to ethical, social and environmental responsibility. This policy that Dior follows also states that they will immediately stop engaging with suppliers if they find any reasonable risk that the suppliers are committing any abuses in terms of their workers. Governance in terms of businesses and their sustainability refers to the process of decision making and logistics of running of a business. It also looks at the business's ethical behaviour and its transparency with their stakeholders. So in relation to the environment, Dior has instilled a dedicated programme known as Dream in Green, in which each month the committee meets together to measure and promote progress in environmental excellence, see how the company's doing. Dior are also committed to ensuring that they are slowing the rate of climate change. They are actively making an effort to do this through reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and this is achieved through the renovation of their boutiques in order to obtain new environmental certifications. In 2021, a rigorous audit was carried out, and ultimately Christian Dior Couture obtained the Positive Luxury Butterfly Mark certification. This illustrates the authenticity of the brand's sustainability and the strategies that have been put in place to actively combat things such as climate change. On the flip side, Dior does have issues relating to workers' welfare and animal rights. This is an issue which I feel is essential to address due to them being such a high-end luxury brand, but they're still actively partaking in the harming of animals for profit. Their animal rating is classed as very poor, which is the lowest rating. They do have a basic formal policy in place, seemingly to protect animal welfare, but it is not followed through in the day-to-day running of the business, as they still use fur, leather, exotic animals, skin and hair in some of their products. So this is something that I think does need to be addressed and changed. Next, I will be speaking about the application and the analysis of Carroll's Pyramid of Corporate Social Responsibility. Carroll's four-part definition of the CSR states that CSR encompasses the economic, legal, ethical and philanthropic expectations that society has of organisations at any given point in time. At the base of the pyramid, we have economic responsibilities, legal, ethical, and philanthropic. Economic responsibility is to be profitable. This is the foundation upon which everything else rests. Legal is to obviously obey the law. The law is society's codification of what is right and wrong, what is acceptable. Ethical responsibilities is the obligation to do what is right and fair and avoid harm. And at the top, we have the philanthropic responsibility, which is ultimately to be a good corporate citizen. Now I'm going to speak about the economic responsibilities, the baseline in Carl's pyramid. This is the foundation upon which everything else is set. The economic responsibilities of any business is the baseline requirement that must be met in an ever-changing and competitive business environment. Businesses employ many strategies and concepts directed towards financial gain, and for a company such as Dior, this is essential. These things can include effective marketing of products, attention towards revenues from previous years, and how they will implement new things to improve the revenue. The business is required to be profitable by society, otherwise ultimately it will fail. Looking at revenue alone, we see that Dior strategies aimed towards financial success have ultimately been a success. In the first half of 2021, the company recorded 28.7 million euros of revenue. This is a 56% increase from the year before. The strategies implemented after the pandemic aimed for financial gain due to the disrupted year of 2020. Excuse me. From these, we can see that the implementation of better marketing and more investment have helped tremendously, making stakeholders in the business more happy and more content. Profit from the company's recurring operations stood at 7,623 million euros in 2021, which was also a 44% increase from the previous year. Ultimately, their economic responsibility of being profitable has been a huge success. And moving on, when it comes to the next part of Carl's pyramid, the legal part, it's important for large corporations such as Dior to obviously abide by the law, providing goods and services which at least meet legal requirements, and conducting themselves conducting themselves as law-abiding corporate citizens. The implementation of the RJC ethics policy, as I mentioned previously, is a great example of a Dior being law-abiding company. They were, the organisation, they have said they will cut ties with any organisation, who are seen as breaking the law or risking anyone's human rights. This is putting workers at risk through child labour, unpaid labour, sweatshops, different environments like that. They have also abided the law in the sense that they have agreed that they'll not be funding any form of conflict, which helps create a good brand image. Next, I'm going to speak about their ethical responsibilities. And in addition to operating in a way that is required by law and regulation, society also expects businesses to operate and conduct affairs in an ethical manner. We can see through the implementation of the RJC policy that Dior is operating ethically. It also affirms the brand's commitment to ethical, social, and environmental responsibility. In today's world, an ethical responsibility of a huge corporation such as Dior, which would be expected by society, could be to adapt to things such as climate change. In relation to this, Dior has instilled the dedicated program known as Dreaming Green, as mentioned before. So each month the committee comes together to measure and promote the progress of the environmental excellence. They have also committed to ensuring that they're slowing down the rate of climate change. This is through the reduction of the greenhouse gases that they produce by renovating their boutiques in order to obtain more environmental certificates. So through this, we can see that Dior is operating in an environmentally, ethically friendly way. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the recommendations for changes in organisational strategies towards a more sustainable and circular approach to their activities, including governance, workers, community, and environment. So, in terms of governance, in relation to this, I feel that Dior should change their mission statement to something more specific, in which it should include a commitment to safeguarding of stakeholder interests. Dior's mission statement is very vague in the sense that it doesn't apply to a specific group of stakeholders. It just states that we only leave beauty a legacy. Whereas Patagonia's mission is we're in business to save our home planet. So, whilst making money, Patagonia are also making a conscious effort to improve the public's well-being and help protect and restore nature, and not to be bound by convention. In terms of workers, through my research, I'm of the view that Dior needs to implement more training and education programs, along with the improved opportunities for both self and career progression within the workplace, as reviews from workers on Glassdoor mention that these are the cons of the company, that it is also too hierarchical, and that there is a lack of ability and difficulty in progression. Whereas compared to my research from bcorporation.net, Patagonia seems to have a business model which benefits workers by scoring 20.8 in the workers section, with 7.4 in health, 3 in career development, both of which seemingly more promising than Dior. And in terms of community, I feel Dior needs to make changes to their supply chain in terms of organisational strategy to move forwards towards a more circular and sustainable brand in the future. An article published by Rick Wiseman in 2018 stated that out of 150 fashion brands, Dior was one of the 12 brands which scored 0 on the Supply Chain Transparency Index, meaning that they're the least transparent when it comes to opacity of their supply chains, thus raising questions to us and consumers. From this, I'm of the opinion that Dior should be more like Patagonia and take a more sustainable and circular approach towards their supply chain management. Patagonia have scored 10 points in the supply chain management topic, as seen on bcorporation.net, and have also scored very highly in the supply chain poverty alleviation topic, along with the design to give topic. Thank you very much for listening, and yes, I would like to just conclude by saying I hope this covered everything.